I'm a business coach and speaker. I run masterminds.
We're fascinated by your time with Tony Robbins.
What
did you learn? Yeah, well, what was that whole experience, that whole chapter of your life like?
People say, what was it like working with him? But I think the bigger question is, what did I learn? And I think the biggest thing I learned from him was...
Yeah, that's cool.
So cool.
This is what I call the $700,000 mistake. I was like, I can't keep going to these meetings for people that can't afford me.
Welcome to The Business Game.
A podcast that moves the needle.
You know what? I think there's a pain point that all businesses have that quietly eats away at their time. Do you know what it is?
No.
Scheduling.
Oh, absolutely. Staff rosters, equipment, logistics, compliance. It never ends.
No, totally. That's what I love about what TraffTrack is doing. They make complex scheduling simple with smart, intuitive software, all handled remotely, right? In real time on both the desktop and the app, right? The app as well. So everyone stays in sync.
And their team gets it. They've worked in industries like construction, logistics, and events. So they know the pain firsthand.
Yep. Now, it's just smooth, smart, and stress-free. Who doesn't want that? So check them out at trafftrack.com. And thank you, TraffTrack, for supporting The Business Game.
Hello, and welcome to The Business Game, a podcast that moves the needle. I'm Kalena Stano.
I'm Steve Plummer.
Before we get started today, make sure you like and subscribe wherever you're listening. Today, we're joined by Stacey Hylen, a businesswoman, strategist, and certified AI consultant who helps entrepreneurs uncover hidden profits and scale without burnout. A former VP of consulting for Tony Robbins and Chet Holmes Business Mastery Program, Stacey has helped clients boost sales by up to 178% while building businesses that support their lifestyle, not compete with it. Hi, Stacey. How are you?
I am fantastic. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So, Stacey, just to kick things off, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm a business coach and speaker. I run masterminds, and I have recently, in the last 3 years, dug deep into AI. So I became a certified AI consultant, but I'm adding that as a layer to my business. I'm also a mom of 3 girls and love to spend as much time as possible on Lake Winnipesaukee and paddleboarding and really modeling the lifestyle, business, prosperous mindset that I share with my clients.
Amazing.
All right, fantastic. Now, looking back on that journey, Stacey, what moments really stand out for you as being most meaningful, or the big milestones, the big turning points in your career and your life?
Yeah, well, in my life, I would say the biggest turning point was when my father passed away. He passed away when he was 56, which right now I'm in my 50s, so that seems really, really young. I was in my 20s, and when he passed away, he didn't have he didn't have the life that he wanted and cross off the things on his bucket list, like going to Australia, things like that. And he hadn't spent the time that he wanted with his family. So what really struck me was that I didn't want to end up in this same situation, right? Because he was successful. He had a standing room only funeral, but when it came down to it, he had a lot of regret. And so I really knew at that point that I needed to not just chase financial success, but have family success and personal success as well.
And I think that's one of your missions, isn't it? I love the phrase, to give entrepreneurs back to their families.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's such a, and somebody said this to me this week, and they said, I really struggle with that because I love my business. And so, as an entrepreneur, we have to set that boundary and set that standard for ourselves of, okay, the business is from this time to this time, and you're going to hold yourself to that. And for example, right now it's later in the evening here on the East Coast in the United States, but that's something I'm willing to do, but not on an every day, every week basis.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I heard someone once say that it's not necessarily it's more of a balance. You're sort of going one to the other. You can't really, it's never one thing sort of takes a priority and then you've got to shift. You can't really do both at the same time. So you're kind of going.
Exactly. And I think you can set yourself up in terms of your schedule as well. I always had my schedule arranged around my children's, school schedule. Now they're in college, so it's not the same. But, I still arrange it. Like this last weekend was a long weekend here in the US, and they were here at the lake. And so I made myself available for that to make sure that I took the same days off so that we could enjoy some great family time.
I love that. I'm actually a young mom. So I've got 2 young kids. And so, the juggle is very real. Trying to just balance it all. I am really curious to understand, did you ever have a moment in your career where you realized, oh, wow, my business journey or my entrepreneurial is sort of taking over? And that's where a pivotal point where you went, you know what, I need to shift gears here and make my kids a priority? Or has that been from the start for you?
It's been from the start because of my dad. So I do have to hold myself back because I do get really excited about things. As you can probably tell, I get excited about things. And so it's easy to get excited about things and constantly want to learn. Like, for example, with AI, I could be on AI 24/7. And I see people that are in some of the business programs that I take that they're all weekend long doing things. And, part of me has a little bit of FOMO that I see them doing all of this stuff because they're spending all weekend digging into the softwares and the programs. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not willing to do that. And that's okay.
Yeah,
that's okay.
I love it.
And does that, I'm just curious as well, it was a really good point, Kalena. Do you feel that is curtailing or putting a ceiling on your success? How do you, I guess, mentally, emotionally deal with that idea of FOMO? Or, social media is a big one. You see someone out doing this, getting this result, and how do you internally deal with that?
Well, I think it goes in waves, right? Because I think in terms of my schedule and in terms of how I structure things, it's very much in waves or seasons. So, for example, in the summer, because I'm here in the Northeast and in Canada and where it gets cold, in the winter, I'm more likely to work more hours, right? And in the summer, when I really want to take advantage of family time, I'm more likely to, kind of let that go down on a lower note. But I do feel for example, one of my clients, he has built his company. He started working with me at 6 figures, and now he's up into 10 to 8 figures. And when he said to me a few years ago, he said, I see a friend of mine who's at $100 million. And he said, but his kids are having a lot of challenges. He's not close with his family. He's not, he's divorced. And he said, you know what? He said, I'm so happy that I've done it the way I have to hit 8 figures. And his daughter had challenges that he was like, let's go, I'll take the rest of the week off and we'll go spend some time together. And so me modeling that also gives some of these other high achievers the permission to do that as well.
Yeah.
Right. When my kids were born, paternal leave was not it was allowed, but my husband didn't take any. I almost died from an infection.
Oh my gosh.
And it was oh, you have 3 days, and now, I see women now, their husbands are able to take months of paternal leave, right? And they're actually taking it. So I think we just have to kind of be the change. And so when I started this, it was really different. And now I'm seeing more people embrace it.
Oh, I love that. When you talk about, you just mentioned one of your clients and how he sort of recognizes the benefits of shaping his life like that. And that's a big part of your messaging as well, is creating this lifestyle to grow, but not compete with that, the entrepreneurial wanting to drive things and still have that lifestyle, which I love because I think it is a big missing piece in that space. How do you approach your clients with that? Is there a framework that you sit down and go, okay, let's map out how you're going to do this? Is that do you start there, or how does that work?
Well, that's one of the components of my At a Zero Without the Hustle that I take my clients through, and it's lifestyle design, right? So I'm always saying to my clients, you get to have this the way you want it. So the way I do it, isn't the way they want to do it, right? Because the things that are important for me aren't the things that are important for them, and vice versa. One of my clients, they want to go hiking every week, right? In the middle of the week. I have other clients that they want to go golfing, other clients that want to travel, right? So it just depends on what is important for you and how are you going to design it around that. When my daughter was younger, she was an elite gymnast. And so I wanted to be able to go to all of her gymnastics competitions. So I literally would arrange my schedule and do VIP days wherever she had her thing. I would host conferences where she had competitions. I designed it the way I wanted it.
Yeah, that's cool.
So cool.
Designed by stealth almost, right? To fit your lifestyle. All right, let's talk about the money again. Come on, this is a business podcast. Let's talk about the money. So you talk about helping clients find hidden profits. Can you walk us through a real example of how you help someone uncover the untapped revenue?
Yeah, so the hidden profits came from the last recession. And there's a big story around that with Tony Robbins, which maybe we can get into later. But one of my clients, when he came on board, they fill out a questionnaire to tell me about their business. And when he filled out this questionnaire, he was complaining about all of his staff. He said they don't do what I want them to do. They're not coachable. And so when we got on the first call, I said, oh gosh, I'm going to have him clean house and really redo this. And when we got on the phone, he's like, I can't clean house. This was during the recession. And he said, these are people like they were my uncles, they're my nephews, they're people I go to church with. And it was a small town down in the South. And he said, I couldn't hold my head up in church if I let everybody go right now with the financial situation that's going on. And so this is when I had to get resourceful and say, okay, well, how are we going to grow this business if people aren't really doing the things that he's telling them to do? And so we brought in one of the hidden profits, which is the upsell, right? So with that, we asked one question. So we looked at what is the most popular product that he sold within his company. And in this case, it was an auto parts store. It was stuff for an oil change. And so what we looked at was, okay, if every time somebody bought stuff for an oil change, what else would make sense to add to that? And so in that case, it was an air filter. Me knowing nothing about cars except where to put the gas. He was, I walked him through the process and he was like, okay, this makes sense to buy the air filters. And so we had his employees ask one question and he increased his sales 48% in 1 month with that one question. So that's just an example of really quickly, how you can change something without having a lot of resources.
Yeah, it's interesting. Just on that, I mean, the upsell is not new or revolutionary, right? And so my question is, why didn't he see that? And by extension, why don't we all see the most obvious thing that will maximize profits?
There's a lot of shiny objects out there, right? And entrepreneurs, we have this I want to say a personality of chasing squirrels, right? I don't know if you guys have squirrel there, but squirrel, right? And we get distracted. And now in the age of AI, it's even more distracting. And so what happens is that you're putting out fires, you're seeing shiny objects, you're focusing on the thing that's getting the most, in this case, maybe it was like the staff that wasn't listening and he was trying to deal with them, but you're not seeing the things that are right there in front of you. And when somebody comes in with another set of eyes, they're able to see the things. It's almost like with those fashion shows that they take the person and the person's just dressed like crap. And they put this person and they tighten their hairdo. They do these things and they put them in a different clothes. It's like, well, obviously the person knew they shouldn't have been wearing those big baggy jeans and sweatshirt, but they had other things. They were taking care of the kids. They were doing other things. So really having an outside set of eyes really helps.
Yes. Shifting to your story, I know you've helped a lot of your clients really grow, some up to 178% in growth. What about yours? What would you say was the biggest growth year for you, and what decisions did you make in that year to sort of make that happen?
I would say the biggest things that really led to it was to really jump up my confidence level of who I felt like I could serve. And so when I first started out, I was helping small business owners and I was going to BNI and, the people there, they couldn't even afford what I was, very low, now for business coaching. This is 25 years ago. And so what happened was I was like, I can't keep going to these meetings for people that can't afford me. I need to step up a level of client and go after the dream clients. And that's really what did it. And I remember I had gone to a conference and it was a big internet marketing conference at the very beginning of internet marketing. And they had people come up to the microphone and I went up to the microphone and I coached this, I gave this guy these ideas of how to improve his website to increase sales. And everybody at the end started giving me their business cards to find out about working with me. And I did the session with one guy, and I told him my new price, which was like 3 times as much. That's it. I was so mad. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, yeah, I was like, getting myself up to triple my rates. And he was like, that's it. And this guy went on to be on the Inc. 5000, like fastest growing companies in the United States. So really stepping up of like, getting out there, going to the conference, upping my rates, going with, bigger and better clients that I could help.
Yeah, amazing. And is there anything that you sort of do or did, I should say, to build that confidence internally? Are there rituals or, I don't know, anything sort of outside the box?
Well, I do read a lot of mindset books, right? Because I worked with Tony Robbins. I also do a lot of money mindset work, right? Because there are so many things from our past and I know you guys have tall poppy syndrome, right?
Yes.
It's a thing down there.
Yes,
it
is.
Right? And so, so the tall poppy is whoever says oh, I'm so great and is doing better, people are going to try to cut them down. And, here in the North America, we also have that of the, working hard and struggle and, it's ingrained that you don't want to make it too easy or, be so far ahead of other people. So really looking at that, your thing that you do for other people has value, and, having a set of testimonials that you read over that reminds you of the value that you bring to people is a really good thing to do whenever you're doubting that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah. And surrounding yourself with the right people too. I think when you're going through those, pushing yourself and not being afraid to sort of grow taller or shine your light or however you want to frame it.
Absolutely.
I think that's a big one.
And I was in a mastermind at that time that really helped me to up level my money mindset.
Amazing.
All right. I think that's a really good segue. And Kalena and I off air, we're fighting over who's going to ask you the question.
I know what he's going to ask.
We're fascinated by your time with Tony Robbins. Can you, one, explain what you did within that organization and just what it was like?
What
did you learn? Yeah, well, what was that whole experience, that whole chapter of your life like? And take as long as you like, because this is fascinating.
Can I back up a few steps?
Absolutely.
Okay. So it was really synchronistic how it happened. So as you mentioned before we got on air, I worked with Chet Holmes. And so Chet Holmes has this process called the Dream 100, which is helping you land big whales of clients. And your dream client, that if you get those clients, they'll change your business, change your life. And so he had Tony Robbins on his Dream 100 list.
Oh,
okay. So I was working with Chet. I was the second person he brought on when he hired coaches to help fulfill his process. And so he had Tony on there. Every week I would get on the phone with Chet and he would be updating us oh, I've sent this to Tony. I've sent that to Tony. And he said, Tony invited me to come to the conference. He went to the conference. And he thought he was going to land Tony as a client. And instead, what happened, they formed Business Mastery together, the brand.
How cool.
And so that's how that happened. So it was really cool to see how he did the process, how he got Tony on. And then I was able to be there at the very first Business Mastery, which, like you guys said, it was kind of fangirling of you saw him with these big hands. And, my husband's 6'2" and he has big hands. But when you see Tony Robbins, they're baseball mitts. And I had been listening to him with cassettes in my car as a sales rep for years. So it was a very surreal experience. And I think, people say what was it like working with him? But I think the bigger question is, what did I learn? And I think the biggest thing I learned from him was about being resourceful. And that's where the whole hidden profits came from. Because if you remember me mentioning the recession and Business Mastery, the very first one was in the last recession. And so people were nervous in the audience. They had spent $10,000 to be there. And this guy stood up and wanted to get coaching from Tony. And Tony said, well, what have you tried? And he said, well, I've tried everything and nothing works. Now, can you imagine saying that to Tony Robbins with a straight face?
You know he's going to
Red
smack you
flag.
down with something.
Yeah,
He's
red
gonna-
flag
he's
to
gonna
a
come-
bull, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody in the audience is like, this is not going to go well.
Took a breath, right? Did he say that? You know,
I know. We're holding our breath.
Yeah.
So Tony says to him, he said, well, what have you tried? And the guy said, like 2 or 3 things. And Tony said, okay, well, that's 2 or 3 things. You said you've tried everything. What else? Like, you must have tried a lot of times. And the guy said, well, I tried a few times, but I ran out of money and team, and I just couldn't keep going with it. And so Tony asked him, he said, have you ever seen somebody that's, come to this country with less than you become more successful than you? And that's a big part of the American, story of the American dream success. And he said, yeah. He said, you see them all the time on Entrepreneur Magazine or Success Magazine. And Tony said, those people, they come to the US with, no money, no network. They don't speak English as well as you do. They don't have a credit limit, to build, to put ads on or buy stock or inventory. And he said, the difference is that it's not a lack of resources. It's a lack of resourcefulness that's stopping you. And so that's where the hidden profits came. Because when I said about the guy that had the challenge, I'm like, I have to get resourceful. So that's where I started looking at, like, how can we get more resourceful to increase your profit and your revenue without spending more on marketing?
Yeah.
He was just like always calling you out to be better, to go to that next level and see what is possible. And so that became something that became ingrained in me to be able to see for my clients. Like today, I have a mastermind, and one of the clients was telling me, they did this thing, they loved it, but they wanted to do it more, but they didn't like this, and this. And I said, well, what if it was easy? Like, what do you want? Like, let's focus on what do you want, and let's make that happen instead of focusing on the things he didn't want about the situation.
Ooh, yeah.
And as soon as he did that, he had this huge shift. And at the end of our call today, he was like, another breakthrough in 15 minutes or less, because it was like focusing on what you want, because focusing on what you don't want is not going to get you where you want to go.
Yeah. Well, focus, energy goes where focus goes, energy flows, however it goes.
We know what you mean.
Yeah.
So I did have a question around that. What is the block for entrepreneurs around resourcefulness? I've tried X, Y, and Z, nothing's worked, and now I'm stuck. Where does that block come from?
Well, I think part of it is a fear of failure, right? Because it doesn't feel good when you try things and it doesn't work. It just feels like, ugh, and I've been there. Like, I was in Russell Brunson's mastermind. So I've invested, in these things. And I was there, like, seeing these people, like, blowing up like crazy. And I would do a webinar and it would like, blah, 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 blah. And I would be crying on Voxer to Russell Brunson, right? And he would be like, the webinar is great. Your content, your delivery is great. He's like, just go do it again, right? And so a lot of times we don't have those people in our corner that are like, go do it again. Like Russell would say, do a webinar 52 times in a row, and then you'll know what's working, what's not working. And so I think we give up too early because there's nobody in our corner saying like, you can do this, give it another go. Like, and also optimizing it and giving it another go, right? To see how you can make it work better.
Hey guys, quick pause to talk about Opus Clip, one of my favorite tools for creating content without the stress. If you've ever spent hours editing videos wishing there was an easier way, Opus Clip is your solution.
Their AI engine takes your raw clips and turns them into share-ready videos in under a minute. No editing skills required, no headaches, no endless hours at your computer.
Seriously, it's like having a professional editor in your pocket. You can create more content, experiment with formats, and share it instantly, all while saving a ton of time.
And if you want to get started with a great sign-up bonus while supporting the show, just use the link in the description.
All right, back to today's episode. We're about to drop more insights you won't want to miss.
You mentioned Chet reaching out to Tony Robbins, right? And it wasn't a straight linear one and done process, right? So I think this ties into you being behind the scenes and watching that happen. How many reach outs did Chet do? And what were they to land Tony as a client? Because that is a masterclass almost in that persistence, right?
Yeah. So I would absolutely recommend everybody listening or watching go get The Ultimate Sales Machine, the book. There's a new updated version because Chet has passed away and his daughter wrote the new version. I'm actually in the new version because I did a case study of the client that went from 6 to 8 figures using the Dream 100 strategy. So the Dream 100 strategy, what we're doing is sending lumpy objects, right? So we have sent, I wish I was in my home office. I'm at the lake right now, so I don't have it. But we've sent like these little bobblehead pens. We've sent mini flashlights. I've sent magic fairy dust, right? Like to, you're not going to get a magic result. I have my wand here. So you're looking at, number one, targeting the big clients that you want to go after. Number two, you're looking at what is the strategic positioning that makes you different. So I think that's the key point that most people miss with the Dream 100 is they're just sending the same message as everybody else. And so really what I help my clients with is let's do the strategic positioning and do the Dream 100 with the strategic positioning. So then it gives somebody a reason to say, oh, that sounds interesting. And so, it can take months. It's not an overnight process. When Chet started this, he went 6 months without getting anything, any result. I just had a client that's been she's a new sales rep at one of my companies that I coach. And they've been sending out the Dream 100 for her. And she said, Friday, a CEO reached out to her and is like, I need the solution like now. Like they met Friday. That's how, but it was getting these months of the lumpy objects. The one lumpy object arrived. They had the challenge. They saw the strategic positioning that could help with that challenge. And then a CEO of this good company reached out to her and said, like, I need help now. Like, what can we do? So it's really having that tenacity. Chet calls it pig-headed discipline to just keep going. And most people don't have that.
Most people give up too early.
Yeah.
Is what you're saying, right? Yeah, there's a really interesting lesson there. Like 6 months, Chet went no results. Wow, and look what he built from that, right?
Yeah, and after that 6 months, that was when he was working for Charlie Munger, who's the partner with Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway.
Yes, yeah.
And then after that, he got like 28 clients in one, bam. So it can change in an instant. Like, for example, one of my clients, they were sending these things and we were talking today. He's still my client 15 years later. And he said, we were doing a proposal for another $1 billion company that he's going after as a client, as a Dream 100. And he had these testimonials, and the testimonials, his clients had been with him 10, 12, 15 years since we started the Dream 100. And I said, that just shows that when you get this client through the Dream 100, because you were like dripping on them, nobody else is going to go do that to steal your client away from you. So it's great once you get them, that then there's a lot of stick factor for those clients.
Yeah. You mentioned the strategic positioning. Is there a secret or a key to that?
Yeah, so it's kind of, I sometimes feel like it's a direct download from the universe when I do it with my clients, because it is a mixture of like the science and the woo a bit. But what we look at is what are the pains of your dream client and what are the wants of your dream client, right? And so we look at like what's keeping them up at night, what are they mad about, what are they fed up with, and we literally, like, when we do these, I do retreats here at my lake house, and we'll like write them down on the whiteboard and like have a whole list, and then we're like, what do they want, like what are they moving towards, right? And Tony always said you do things for one of two reasons: to avoid pain or move towards pleasure, right? So that's a big part of that strategic positioning. So, for example, one of my clients was a pizza brand. And so, he was selling pizzas to schools as a lunch program. And his pizza was whole wheat. It was like much more elevated than the regular pizzas that were being served in schools, and healthy. And so instead of just saying, hey, we're selling a pizza, right? Nobody needs a pizza. Like, all the schools are serving pizzas. There's no reason for them to take his call. So when we did this strategic positioning, we looked at the pain and the wants, and we discovered that the school nutrition directors were being evaluated for two things: profits and participation. right? So how much money were they making in the school lunch program that allowed the schools to fund other programs? And participation, like how many kids are eating lunch at school? Because kids that eat lunch at school learn better. And so now what we did when we called, we sent the lumpy objects, right, to get the attention. We did the calls and we said, hey, we're from such and such company. We're the company, have you heard of us? And they'd say yes or no. Whether they say yes or no, the answer is the same. The reason why is you're putting your strategic messaging into their brain, right? So you don't want them to be like, oh yeah, you're the company that blah, 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 right? That my sister-in-law hates or whatever. You're putting your strategic positioning in their brain. So we would say, great, then you know that we're the company who helps school nutrition directors increase their profits and participation.
Ooh, yeah.
Now, all of a sudden, the school nutrition director is like, that's interesting.
Yeah. Hello, you got my attention.
More, right?
You've got my
You're
attention.
able to have these conversations that weren't available because they were already having pizza. This isn't about the pizza. And that's what I think most people do is they're like selling pizza, or whatever it is that they're selling.
Yeah, well, that's cool. I've got a question about AI, jumping to the future. You mentioned it in the beginning, but so you're an AI consultant, which is awesome. I would love to pick your brain for hours on that. But how do you help businesses sort of incorporate that AI strategy without losing their unique, voice, branding?
I am doing, I have a proprietary method that I take people through, and it's really looking at being strategic with your AI, being authentic with your AI, and selling with your AI, right? So it's SaaS. And so I always say, like, get sassy with it. Like, I literally, I talk to my phone. Like today, I had this call and I was like, oh, that was really interesting. So I'm outside walking my dog and I'm literally just kind of debriefing myself from what happened and telling a story. And so I think a lot of it is that people are like saying, hey, ChatGPT, make me, 20 social media posts that are going to appeal to my perfect client. No, you need to have what your perfect client's pains are, what your perfect client's concerns are, what's keeping them up in the middle of the night. You need to know what they want and very specific. And then you need to have your own personal stories in there. Like, so I tell the story of my dad dying at 56. Like, that's part of who I am. And that's part of what's very, very important to me. So like, it's not just like, I'm seeing a lot of people jump on like, oh, don't burn out, don't hustle. Like, I've been talking about adding a zero without the hustle for 20 years now.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think if you put good stuff into AI, you'll get good stuff back. So I would say, like, what is unique to you? What is authentic to you? Like, it knows I like to paddleboard. It knows I have a dog named Red, and it knows that I like to hike. Like, those are the things that are going to be incorporated. Like, it's funny because now I'm playing with some of the video stuff. And it always loves to show champagne in the hand and fancy stuff. No, I am at the lake.
Yeah.
Now, I might have a Chanel necklace on, but I'm going to be putting on my flannels, right? Like, I like to hike. I like to be out on the lake. So I'm always telling it, don't put champagne in my hand. Like, that's not me. I don't even drink. Like, put a cup of tea or a Yeti with some ice water in it. That's me.
Yeah.
So real. And also, like, talk back to it. Like, if it's not you, I would be like, stop hallucinating. Like, like, this is not me. And really, like, you need to train it.
Yeah. I've had arguments with my ChatGPT. I'm like, no, this is incorrect. That's not what I told you. Please.
Yes. And have you trained it?
Yes. Yeah. It was so funny. I had my friend, I'm actually not techie at all. And I had my friend who is very much in the tech. She was like, how did you get your chat to do that so well? I was like, I've trained her.
Berated it like a naughty child.
Yeah. Well, you still keep it really personal and you get to know you.
Yeah, for sure.
Entrepreneurs, I guess they always, and we have touched on this, but they feel like they're constantly hustling, but not necessarily moving forward. So what are the most common areas you see where the hidden profit leaks are? I mean, you mentioned the upsell earlier. What are some of those other things that are quite common in the entrepreneurial space?
Yeah, so I think one of the things is they're hustling because they're focusing on all the things instead of the things that give them the most bang for the buck, right? Like, so when you're looking at like what has the highest ROI, those are the things that they need to be focused on. And I think that's part of the thing of having coaching or having a mastermind, that's like staying focused in on those high ROI things instead of all the new things that are coming out, down the pipe every day. One of the biggest hidden profits is pricing, right? Because a lot of people are undercharging. So like I had a guy today who was in my mastermind, and he said, he had one coaching client because he does something else completely unrelated to coaching, but this guy wanted to hire him to learn from him. And he said, I would do this and I would charge him $25,000. I said, you just told me that this guy made millions of dollars and now knows how to do it forever. And you're going to charge him $25,000? Like that's like that's not a one-on-one coaching for that level, right?
Yeah.
So literally it went from 25 to 50K, and that made a lot more sense. But those are like small things that you're not seeing when you're just in your own business and your own stuff. So I would say pricing is a huge one.
Well, just on that, before you give us some of the others, why do we undercharge? Well, and this might be a Tony Robbins-y unpacking the subconscious thinking or whatever it is, but it's you mentioned it at the start, you were even, oh gosh, the guy said that's all when you said that's your fee that you just tripled, right? Like, so it's not like no one's ever done that. So why do we undercharge? What's going on there for us?
Well, I think the things that are easy for us, a lot of times we don't feel like we can charge a lot for, right?
Yes.
So when something is super easy, like I would do coaching for free. I love it. Like I would do a Dream 100 strategy for people. Like I love it. I love doing the strategic positioning, but guess what? People don't value it when it's free.
Yeah,
Chet used to say people have to pay attention.
Yes.
Right? They have to pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
And so like if I've helped people in my family, I've helped friends, and they do nothing with it. And I'm like, people are paying like tens of thousands of dollars for this, hundreds of thousands of dollars for this, and you did nothing. So I think if it's easy for you, you tend to underestimate the value of it. So I would really look at like, what is the value of what you're doing? And it doesn't matter what you're doing. There's always a value for the other person. And like, you could be cutting hair, you could be interior designer. Like you really have to look at like, what is it that you're doing for the other person and how that's going to affect them. Don't just go for like the initial value. There's also that long-term effect, right? So like, yes, they could increase their sales this year. They could get this result this year, but how's that going to help them next year, the year after, and the year after, and their life?
Yeah, that long vision.
That's really important. Yeah. Now, I did interrupt you on those hidden profit leaks. The underpricing was one. Yeah. What are some of those others?
Yeah. Oh, this one is one of my favorites. It's the come on back strategy. And this one, a lot of these come from pains, right? And so this one, I had a client and he canceled his coaching call with me. And he, like most people don't cancel their calls last minute because they're paying a lot for coaching. And so I was like, what's going on? He said, oh, I got $100,000 sale. And I was so excited. I was like ready to do my happy dance because I'm very exuberant and celebrate my wins with my clients. And he said, no, Stacey, it was not a win. I was like, how can $100,000 sale not be a win? And he said, well, it turns out this was a prior client of mine. And for the last 7 years, he's been buying from my competitor. So this is what I call the $700,000 mistake, right? So that come on back strategy was motivated from this, because all of us that have been in business for a while, we have clients that have done business with us in the past. And Dan Kennedy always says it's not our client's job to remember us. It's our job to make our clients remember us. And so we want to talk to them. We want to go back and give them permission to come back.
Stacey, I've just got a question, this enough question that I think burns in a lot of entrepreneurs. So when is enough enough? And how do you, for yourself even, and how do you for your clients or with your clients, how do you figure out that?
That is you're going to tell me this is the last question. It's a hard question. I mean, it's different for everybody because, a lot of times enough is coming from lack. right? And so we don't feel enough personally as our self-esteem and like inner self. So we keep striving to go to the next thing and keep trying to perform. And so for me, I think it's like I said, when I built the lake house, I just kind of I took my foot off the gas, and I freely admit that, because that was like our goal for so long, like with the plan and writing it on a placemat, kind of thing, and, making that happen.
Was that a bad thing, though, taking the foot
okay.
off? Was that a bad thing, taking the foot off the gas?
No, because I was enjoying it.
Yeah.
Right? I was enjoying it. And also at the time that I took my foot off, my daughter was having some challenges, one of my daughters. And so I was there to support her. And sometimes when you have family things, you have health things, you need to take your foot off, and you need to be there for the people that need you.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things of entrepreneurship, is that you have to stop comparing yourself. Like if I compared myself to, I don't know, the Hormozis, I'd be like, oh, Stacey, you're a failure.
Yeah.
Right. But when I compare myself to like how happy Stacey is with Stacey's life, Stacey's family, Stacey's business, Stacey's clients, like I'm happy with Stacey's. But if I look outward, then there's always going to be lack and comparison. So it's really hard to have enough when you're looking at other people.
I love the wisdom in that. I really do.
Yeah. It's all very individual, which I like. Just tapping back into what works for you.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So, we're just about out of time, but I wanted to just ask one quick thing. Where can people find you directly, you and your company? How can they get in touch?
Sure. You can go to staceyhylen.com, which is my main website. But also, I would suggest you go to moreclientsandcash.com, because I know you've been saying, like, let's get to the money, let's get to the money. So you can go to moreclientsandcash.com, and it's going to take you through ways that you can find those hidden profits in your company. It has a custom GPT that's based on the stuff that's in my book, Hidden Profits, that's coming out. So it actually will show you the places in your company that you can actually boost your cash very quickly. So I would definitely go there to moreclientsandcash.com and download that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm also Stacey Hylen on all the socials. So come and see me anywhere online, Stacey Hylen.
Awesome. One quick thing too. You mentioned a book that you think every entrepreneur should read at the beginning of this. Can you say that title for us again?
Oh, sure. The Ultimate Sales Machine with Chet Holmes.
Okay.
So the new version of it has his daughter, Amanda Holmes, because Chet has passed away.
Yes.
I'm actually in the chapter about the Dream 100. So the Dream 100 strategy that we've talked about, the pig-headed discipline, a lot of those things are in there. It's a very comprehensive book for entrepreneurs. So I definitely suggest you get that.
One of the things that we like to do just before we finish is to get to know the person behind the microphone. We call it the Fast Five. So we're going to hit you with some 5 really quick questions, and we'd love really quick answers. Kalena, would you like me to do that? Do you want to do the Fast Five?
Oh, you go for
me?
it.
Okay. All right. Here we go. So you ready, Stacey? The Fast Five.
Ready. Let's go.
All righty. Okay. Number 1, what was your first job?
Well, I had a business first before I had a job, but my first job was at a fruit stand.
Okay. What's one thing you couldn't live without?
Ice water.
Haven't heard that one before. Wow, cool.
That's so
iPhone or Android?
iPhone, all the way.
Early riser or night owl?
Oh, I love to stay up late, but I have to get up early. So if I'm on my own and my husband's out of town, I tend to stay up late. I naturally go that way.
All right, cool. Last one. What was the last book you read?
Oh, gosh. I always forget the titles of the things I'm reading, but I am reading James Patterson book right now, because I like to actually, if I read business books all the time, I can't unplug and relax. So I like to read some fiction too.
Ditto. All right. Thanks, Stacey. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Stacey. And again, thanks so much for joining us and sharing your story. This has just been so inspiring, and I've really enjoyed this.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks, Stacey. The gold nuggets you dropped today were just fantastic. And thank you very much for your time.
Awesome. Thank you.
That's a wrap for today's episode. If you enjoyed what you heard, make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes.
For more insights, strategies, and stories to help move the needle on your business, we'll meet you back here on Saturday. Thanks for tuning in to The Business Game.
If you like what you heard, make sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn to stay connected.
A big thank you to our major sponsor, TraffTrack, for powering today's episode.
And join us again on the next episode of The Business Game, a
podcast that moves the needle.